There's a lot of people struggling out there right now. I'm definitely one of them. And the good news is there's a lot of great tools available to almost everybody now. If you're on social media, you've seen all kinds of programs and courses and toolkits and downloads and PDFs and apps. And this stuff promises so much. You have somatic work and shamanic work and psychotherapy and family systems, and there's just all kinds of approaches to healing out there. But there is something important that a lot of these programs are missing. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do these programs, but I am saying that you need to know a few things that they do not include or tell you. Now, I will admit that in the Ignia approach, which I will be going deeply into in a 6-week overview, we try to gather the best or the most enduring of the scientifically backed spiritual practices that people have done throughout time and in the modern era to deal with the most difficult things like trauma, extremes of anxiety, extremes of ADHD, extremes of toxic stress and burnout. But one of the things that makes the program different is our orientation to the tools. And these flowers kind of illustrate that point pretty clearly. Now, the first thing you have to understand is that these flowers bloom and come to life because there is an innate design at work inside them. They don't decide to bloom. They don't decide to be beautiful or fragrant. It's their nature. And if all the right conditions are in place, their nature is revealed. But let's talk about the conditions. What does a flower need to blossom annually? Well, it needs enough of a certain quality of soil. It needs enough of a certain quality of light. It needs enough of a certain quality of water and timing, temperature, and frankly, a whole bunch of other factors that we don't even understand or that we take for granted. Things like bacterial elements in their growth or subterranean qualities of the soil that we don't yet understand. But the point is there's a lot of elements and ingredients. Now, what we see in the Western model of psychology and medicine is a symptom-oriented approach in which we look at what's, quote, wrong with a person, diagnose it as a condition, and then we prescribe the tools that will alleviate the symptoms. And hopefully people will learn those tools over time and they can deal with the symptoms quicker and quicker. It's one way to look at healing, but it's not the way that we have ever looked at healing traditionally in our cultures around the world. And it's not the way integrative or holistic healing systems work. They understand that just because you have a bucket of dirt and a bucket of water and an open window to the sun doesn't mean you're going to have flowers. You see, all these elements are like the tools. But what makes the flower bloom, aside from its true nature, is the way these elements come together in conversation, in perfect balance. So what we're actually seeing unfolding here is not an equation, but a story that is relational, a story that is dynamic, a story that is responsive and adaptive. There are key elements to the story, yes, but it's the way they come together, their interrelationship, that matters most. And so whatever you're going through, you've got to make sure that the story you hold about who you are and what you're going through and what your tools are all in alignment. They're all coherent. They're all building towards you awakening to a fuller experience of self and authenticity and power and resilience. And it's not just a collection of tools to medicate your symptoms when you're not feeling good, because that's going to leave you on a little spiral. And in the end, that kind of symptom-driven approach kills the flowers and doesn't allow us to blossom in the way we were born to. Well, it smells amazingly good here, but I'm going to leave you, and maybe you'll join our class. All right, check it out.